Oh man, I'm in Natchitoches, Louisiana tonight. I was at court earlier this morning. I've been here since yesterday, uh, handling some client matters. Just trying to stay busy. See, we got. At first I thought we had a somebody in the chat room, but we don't. That zero is a one. That's because I took my glasses off, so I'm moving closer. I can see the zero. I move out. I can't see. Well, I can see. Yeah. Uh, so, anyway, some of you all might be asleep. Some of you may be awake. You probably will see this video a little bit later. I'm just talking randomly about some stuff going on. Topic is miscellaneous topics. And tomorrow they laid to rest the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. I did a tribute video for Aretha over the when she died a couple of weeks ago. They've been doing a star-studded tribute to her, from dressing her up in rose red because she was honorary member of Delta Theta Sigma, which is the uh, black sorority of the Divine Nine. That's what they call it. She was dressed up in blue pumps, blue heels yesterday, and today I understand she was in peach gold, if I'm not mistaken, or in peach. Yeah, so shout out to Aretha, and we love you, sister, wherever you are. Um, we'll always have your albums, your music that we can fall on whenever we miss you, and you've given a legacy that no one can deny. You are the queen, without a doubt, and I'm more scared and sad because I don't find any other artist right now that can touch you or any of the other Whitney or Michael or Prince. And shout out to Michael. Michael's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Michael. 60. He would have been 60 years old, and that's hard to even think of Michael Jackson getting older because he was always somebody that loved youth and being young. But we all get up there, so he would have been 60. And even they were talking, I saw Harvey Superboy. Uh, I didn't get to listen to all of it, but he posted on how Megan Kelly was disrespectful to Michael Jackson. I saw Nicole from Nicole's View. She posted on it. Shout out to her. Shout out to all of those people. We are new black media guys. You need to go subscribe to their channels because you're not going to get information from mainstream media. What mainstream media likes to do is dumb down our people. They dumb down, and not just black people, but they dumb down everybody now. That's why you have all reality TV shows now and sitcoms, which used to be great on Worth a Damn. You have shows like The Big Bang Theory. It's ending this season, and my answer to that is thank God, because I didn't think the whole show was even funny. For 12 years that has been on, I don't think I've ever sat and watched a whole episode. And I don't know whoever did. God, God help us all. If you, God help you. But you know, neither here nor there. Yeah, but Aretha Franklin, and that's something I wanted to mention too, is that we do you all find, and I don't find that there are many black artists, new artists, and R&B artists in particular, that have touched the artistry of someone like a Michael Jackson or a Prince or Stevie Wonder. Are we grooming that next generation? Where is that? I don't know anybody, and I'm talking about uh, African Americans. Bruno Mars is not an African American. He's a Puerto Rican Hawaiian American. You know, I respect him, and that's not a shot at him. But I don't see anybody that's replacing, who are standing in the shoes of Stevie Wonder or a Prince or Ray Charles or Michael Jackson, the new artists that can play 30 instruments, and play straight music. I don't see anybody like that, who's on that level. And maybe it has to do with the fact that the music industry has changed drastically for the last uh, 40 plus 30 years, especially with the advent of the internet now. Anybody can make a song. Back then, if you were in Aretha Franklin's time, you needed to make a song or get on an album, you actually had to have scouts come and check you out and look at you. And what helped Aretha was that her father, C.L. Franklin, was a big time pastor. So she saw many of the big artists of the day, from Sam Cooke to Jackie Wilson, and then growing up with Smokey Robinson and the rest of the Motown family. She grew up in the same new neighborhood as Smokey did. Smokey was best friends with her brother, and on top of that, Diana Ross lived across the block, and the Four Tops and the Temptations lived over there. And Berry Gordy. So she was surrounded with that, even though she was never a part of the Motown family per se, officially, but she was family to the Motown company because they all grew up with her. She was Miss Detroit. She was the queen of Detroit. But interesting enough, Aretha Franklin is from Memphis. That's where she was born. And she didn't move to Detroit until she was about 5 years old. And she was originally living in Buffalo, New York at one point. And they moved her up there. And she's been associated with Detroit ever since. You know, I just don't. So, and we, I just don't see anybody that can replace those people. Those are one of a kind. Aretha Franklin is one of a kind. Michael Jackson is a one of a kind. Prince, Stevie Wonder, and I keep mentioning those names because the music that they have, the albums that they put out, are legendary. You know, back then, when you wanted get an album, you had to wait in line at the record store to go get it, or they used to have a man driving a cart. He would sell albums back in the day, from what my mom tells me. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just pick up your phone and download it. It's so easy now. So it makes it harder, I think, for great artists to come out. And I'm not saying that there aren't very good artists that are talented, but it's just not the same. And that's just the bottom line. And there's a slump, there's a hole now when many of these artists die because of the songs that they wrote. I mean, I look at the category of songs Aretha wrote. She wrote Daydreaming and Rock Steady. She rewrote Respect, which was written by Otis Redding, who was a great soul singer. You know, Otis Redding had uh, the song Respect, and even Stevie Wonder, he wrote Until You Come Back to Me. And it wasn't really a hit when he recorded it until he gave it to Aretha Franklin. And it became her song. And she had Donny Hathaway working under her, and Bernard Purdy, a great drummer. You know, those people, those are things you can't replace, you know. So, I have great respect for Miss Franklin, and probably not going to be able to catch all of the funeral because I'm going to be driving back from Natchitoches to New Orleans. It's a long ass ride, guys, for like 4 hours. But I actually like it here so far. Got to see the Louisiana Sports Museum Hall of Fame. If you're up here or you're traveling up here, you ought to check it out because it's pretty cool. To see the athletes that we have in the museum. Even at the New Orleans Saints, they have Grambling State University, Southern University alumni that are in there. Anybody that's been affiliated or affected with New Orleans, or not even New Orleans, but just Louisiana, is up in there. Even if they only stayed for a month, they put them in there. And I learned about a boxer named Joe Brown, and actually, I believe that's who Joe Brown Park is named after. He was uh, a world champion and had over 11 title defenses in his welterweight class, only to be bested by Roberto Duran, who actually has more title defenses. He didn't fight Roberto Duran, but he fought in a total of over, if I'm not mistaken, 140 fights. And I think he won over 109, lost 41. And I don't even know if he may be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. We got a visitor. Shout yourself out. Top chat. Thank you for joining me. We're just talking miscellaneous, whoever you are. But let me know who you are. Yeah, so you ought to check it out. Natchitoches, I think. Yeah, I see you came. What's up, man? Yeah. So if you're in Natchitoches, check it out. They even have the Christmas lights festival. that's coming up in December. Though I heard that's always great. Uh, but it's nice up here. So I enjoyed. I don't enjoy the drive too much, just because of the length of time. But it wasn't too bad. 4 hours. You know, so I got 4 hours coming back. So I'm gonna get some rest in a little bit. Uh, but at any rate, also I wanted to talk about, and since we're talking about Aretha Franklin and her death, I just want to ask you guys something. Since we're talking about R&B music, I saw Stephanie Mills, uh, where I listened to an interview that she did. She talked about the new face of R&B and how they're. She said essentially, the white artists, and I'm paraphrasing, are basically the new faces of R&B now, because you don't see, uh, don't really hear too much from Brian McKnight or Babyface anymore. I know Babyface came out like 3 years or 4 years ago. He had that album with Tony Braxton, but you haven't heard anything else yet lately. Uh, excuse me. You don't see. I don't see new black faces in R&B anymore. They may come out with some singles, but the main ones that are pushing the albums are who? The Adeles. The main face of hip hop now is white folks. You got Post Malone, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who the fuck that is. I just don't follow it because hip hop has been so destructive as of late. And I did see the Cardi B, Coretta Scott King spoof. I'll just say this on that. As a comedian as well, because I've done stand up comedy, I don't say that a person can't, an artist can't say what they want. Obviously she didn't write that, she was acting. However, however, all jokes are not funny. And this person who wrote this, I believe his name is Rip Michaels. You got to ask yourself, Rip, and I heard his explanation, but did you really sit down and think, would this sketch be funny? Was it worth was it worth it? Because nowadays we're walking on eggshells with things that we say. Anybody can get easily offended. Just like last week when I did my YouTube video and I told you, uh, I saw that interview. I don't follow what's new in music today. No, a lot of people don't, Cayman. A lot of people don't follow it. I mean, I stopped. I'll be honest with you, I listen to an R&B station here in New Orleans, WYLD. I don't listen to 93.3 too much. I just stopped. Even when I was in Baton Rouge, I would 106.5 would be on, but sometimes I would put the 94.1 or 107.9, which was the Cajun station, which is basically Acadiana and Lafayette. I would just put the new hip hop music on just so I could stay in touch with what's relevant, what's going on today. And today is Migos on hip hop, and they're not really hip hop. I'm just being real. I don't see the fascination with them. I don't see the fascination with Post Malone. Like, who the fuck is he? And I see him all tatted up and shit. I mean, basically, he's the updated version of Paul Wall. I just don't get it. They tried to say that he broke Michael Jackson's records, and I really think that a lot of things that they're doing now, as of late, you've seen how they act. The estate sold Michael Jackson's uh, catalog to Sony. Mumble rap is a thing. They sold Michael Jackson's catalog to Sony. Uh, they talked about the records, the Eagle breaking Thriller's all-time record. They talked about Post Malone breaking Michael's record for having a number one song for a record, I don't know, 38 or 36 weeks, being on the top 100 songs. Well, here's the thing with that. What Michael did and what's different from what the Eagles did, and I did a separate video on this about Mike still being number one, but I didn't mention this too. The Eagles' greatest hits is just a greatest hits album. It's not an original album like Thriller was. When Thriller came out, you're talking about 8 new tracks on a song. The Girl Is Mine and Want to Be Starting Something and Thriller, PYT, Lady Be Mine. You may have, and Billie Jean and Beat It. You're talking about 8 to 10 different songs on an album, 5 or 6 of which I believe shot to number one. Or if they weren't number five, if 4 of them weren't number one, 3 of them weren't, I think, were number one. The other 4 were in the top 10, maybe 3 or 4 or 7, whatever. They stayed in the top 10 for a long time, and there's been no other record in history that has been able to culminate, neither culminate nor duplicate what Michael did. Thriller was an original album. The Eagles, anybody under the age of 40 probably has never heard of the Eagles. And to top it off, excuse me, guys. To top it off, what the Eagles did, what Michael did with Thriller, right? Thriller has sold, it's estimated, at least 120 million albums worldwide. Now, what they're talking about with the Eagles, and I've explained this before, is that in the United States, the RIAA, which is the Recording Industry uh, American Association, I think that's it. And they certify the recordings of artists, and not just music artists, but different artists, and some people who record albums like spoken word artists or comedians and so forth. They'll certify how many copies they've sold. So in terms of United States certification, the Eagles album, they're saying beat Michael's album by about 5 million copies. So Michael's Thriller had sold 33 million here in the United States, whereas 38 million was sold for the Eagles. The only thing is that it just counts the United States. It doesn't talk about worldwide. And Guinness World Book of Records lists Thriller as the greatest selling album of all time. And that has never changed. And I don't even think that the Eagles can even touch that. And then also you got to consider too, well, when you say that the Eagles sold so many albums in last year, Michael Jackson's album was still number one. So how did it jump to 5 million just that quickly? Are you saying that Thriller didn't sell any albums in 2018? Nobody downloaded it. Nobody streamed it online, because that's another thing that changed. When people stream music now, I've heard that record companies can do, they can do things as far as, you know, if you stream it for so long and multiple times, they'll count that as an album sale. Okay. So that's kind of what you got with the Eagles, I think, happen. They manipulate a lot of these streaming services, these record companies, from what different resources that I've heard do. So the new face of R&B is Adele. The new face of hip hop is Post Malone. And I don't think we're going to see real music again, except what we got on YouTube. But we have to change that, just like we have to change media. The main thing we need to do, and I'm seriously considering it, just think for a minute. What if we were able to get Soul Train back on the air? I'm just thinking, because they're rebooting all of these different shows. I've seen American Idol's gotten rebooted. Uh, that was off the air for a few years, actually. I'm seeing Murphy Brown coming back on the air, and now these are not reality shows; these are sitcoms. But if we're going to keep it in if we're going to keep it in terms of game shows, we got American Idol competition shows. American Idol. You got America's Got Talent. Showtime at the Apollo even came back. The Gone Show, which airs in the summers now, that came back, which was something show that they had in the 70s, and the 80s, 70s and 80s, around that time. It could happen depending on the name rights. It could. I think Don Cornelius sold it to. I can find that. Hold on. I did read it somewhere. If this thing would load. Very interesting. Don Cornelius was a member of the United States Marine Corps. Shout out to him. No, we do respect our men in the service, our people who have served. Regardless of how you feel about the government and the country, so forth, I respect people that have done that. So, but he was one of a kind. Yeah, he had the Black is Beautiful campaign. I remember when Soul Train. Now I caught the tail end of it. Good to see you too, Be One for Life. We're just doing various topics. I remember, and y'all tell me without telling me how old you are, but you remember watching Soul Train on the weekdays? So I remember when Soul Train used to come on Saturdays at 11 before the 12 o'clock matinee that would come on. I think it was I want to say either WGNO, which is ABC here in New Orleans. The WB wasn't on at first, but I think it was Fox that was there. And they switched channels because the WB was a new show back in the 90s. Weekends at 12 p.m. on WGN. Yeah, that it did come on WGN, but new episodes used to come on. I think, and WGN is based in Chicago, which is where Soul Train was originally based. But WB, they used to air new episodes on a different station in New Orleans, and that was when the show was syndicated, obviously. And even the award shows. Remember when the Soul Train Awards would come on? The Soul Train Awards would be on, and everybody would stop doing what they're doing. And it's kind of what I was talking about last time, how award shows don't really mean anything anymore. But I remember when the Soul Train Awards were huge. I remember Michael Jackson performing at the Soul Train Awards with a twisted ankle, and he was sitting in the chair doing all of his moves and stuff. And Eddie Murphy would be there. I remember, I think Liz Taylor was even there. They all gave Michael, his tribute. Diana Ross, I remember they did a tribute for her, and she had like her 30 her whole family came out. She had so many damn kids. Like, damn, her and Barry Gordy were popping them out like jackrabbits. Or like gremlins, man. Don't let them near water. I'm just messing. But yeah, Diana Ross, I remember that. Just a lot that was going on. Who else? I remember Janet Jackson getting awards. I'm trying to figure out where Don Cornelius sold rights to Soul Train. Let's see. He sold the show, according to his Wikipedia page. Don Cornelius sold Soul Train in 2008 to Mad Vision Entertainment. So, who owns Mad Vision Entertainment? We have to figure that out. I remember they were trying to, I think it was Nick Cannon, and he was actually trying to put a syndicated version back of Soul Train on the air. And I don't think, for whatever reason, it didn't work. Now, and at one time, it was the longest running fully nationally syndicated program in American television history, up until 2016 when Entertainment Tonight came back on. So there have been attempted revivals. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. In 2009, Madvision lost the Soul Train channel on YouTube. 3 months later, the company entered into a licensing agreement with Time Life. They sold the Soul Train DVD sets. Madvision then came to terms with Viacom-owned BET to relaunch the award show on the spin-off channel for BET, Centric, in 2009. In November 2009. Centric, which launched on September 28, 2009, is currently broadcasting archive episodes of the program. Archive episodes can also be seen on Bounce TV, which is based in Atlanta. Madvision sold the rights to Soul Train to a consortium led by basketball player Irvin Magic Johnson and backed by private equity firm Intermedia Partners. The Johnson Intermedia Consortium plans on a potential film project Cornelius had briefly mentioned prior to selling the franchise, as well as producing potential stage adaptations and a cruise. As part of the sale, Johnson's Aspire TV continues airing reruns of the series. Cornelius continues to appear for Soul Train documentaries and ceremonies up until his death from suicide in 2012. In 2013, a cruise-based revival called the Soul Train Cruise began taking place. The cruise is presented by Centric. 2016, a division of Viacom bought all rights and trademarks to the Soul Train brand, including the show's extensive library, the annual cruise event, and the award shows that continue to bear the Soul Train name. So there you go. Okay, apparently, now that Magic owned Soul Train at one point, now it looks like Viacom, BT Networks, and of course Viacom is white owned, owns the rights to Soul Train. So this show that was, as Spike Lee called it, a urban time capsule, is no longer owned by blacks anymore. Okay, so he called it an urban music time capsule. So apparently, yeah, Viacom owns it. So my thing is, how can we get those things back? It's important. I said before, black people, if we want to be the new media, we want to change tell our narrative, we got to be able to build a group together and we got to put money up. We got to support each other. We got to be able to go in there. If we want to do business, we got to make sure we know business, you know. And Don Cornelius, at the time he sold it, obviously he had health problems, so I don't hold this against him. It is his company. I even heard when Berry Gordy sold Motown, I've heard things about that. Berry was told to sell Motown. Can we get black firms that can buy these products to buy it and secure our trademarks? I'm sure there may be some out there, people that would be interested, but we got to be able to put it together. You know, so I'm not gonna spend too much time, guys. I'm actually just tired right now, but I did want to get that off my chest. Uh, you know, I don't know. We can look more into something like this. This would be great. I think if we could bring something like that back, but I'm concerned really about the state of R&B. It's scary to think we don't have any new artists like those guys, and I don't think we have a medium. Of course, we have the internet now, which obviously gives people more exposure, exposes them to a new audience. It gives them they can actually perform their music anywhere. They can actually create new music anywhere with a computer now. You don't need a studio like Aretha Franklin. She had to actually go in a recording studio, play the instruments, play the piano, while have drummers play the drums, and she knew what she wanted. So we honor the Queen. Uh, you know what she did, and she was on Soul Train many times. I think maybe we should talk to. Speaking of Soul Train, we should talk to some of the musicians that are still around that were on Soul Train. Uh, the Smokey Robinsons, the Stevie Wonders, members of the OJs, what they would think about a revival. If they thought of doing a revival, that would be great. Sorry, take your time. I'll see you. But anyway, guys, I wasn't trying to be too long. I don't know when the next video is up. I'm looking to try and do a video and interview some people for the channel. I'm going to be setting up a Patreon account very soon. So if you please support so we can keep going. We got somebody else in the chat room who's on there. Say something, fam. Matter of fact, let me put the link up to a couple of things I saw today, and you guys should check it out. I'm putting it in the chat room link, so it'll come up later. That's Don Cornelius's Wikipedia account. I also saw something when I was in Natchitoches at the museum. Reverend Rayford. There's another Rayford Blunt. I saw this at the museum in Natchitoches where they talked about, uh, you know, with the African American community. They briefly talked about it, how there is a Creole heritage up in Natchitoches as well, uh, and different pastors, how things came about. Let's see. But check that out, folklife.nsula. Yeah, it's real nice up here. Was impressed. I enjoyed my time. But anyway, guys, I know some of you gotta go, gotta all get up in the morning for work. I gotta get up and try and leave early so I can be on the road. But you guys be safe, be blessed, have a wonderful weekend. Let's come up with some ideas, and I'll be happy to share with you all. In the meantime, peace, family. We love you, Aretha. Uh, God bless you, and thank you. Yeah, good night, brothers, and everybody else that was joining me in the chat room. I appreciate it. Peace.